I'm Ashley.
I'm Lauren, and this is
Whispers and the Basement. What was the look on my face like? I'm sure it was great.
Okay, so I feel like on the movie The Mummy, there is something on there.
What a comparison.
I just feel like in the background of the of the DVD or whatever, there is a big mouth open sand dune thingy. I'm terribly describing this, but that's what your face looked like.
Wait, is it the Mummy? Or I am thinking of the tiger, the sand tiger thing in Aladdin. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, it's definitely The Mummy. This thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right on. Awesome sauce.
Yeah, so just Google the DVD, The Mummy.
And that's what Ashley looked like.
Yep.
Superb.
Absolutely. Or I guess whenever you're trying to do screamo in the car, but you can't actually scream, so you do what you just did.
Oh yeah. I mean, who does? Who doesn't?
I mean, I think I did that yesterday, so.
Oh my gosh. So we were having a conversation and we had to stop because I said it was a really good segue into what we're going to talk about today. And we were talking about it's a podcast, right?
Yeah, so it's Call Her Daddy. It used to be a girl, talked about dating, sex tips, all of that. And then the co-host and the host broke up because of money. It was the whole end result of it. And so then Alex Cooper took the podcast and basically now just interviews celebrities, which doesn't really stick with what the original podcast was, but she just did an episode with Megan Fox, who, I personally think Megan Fox is a smoke show, but
she's attractive for sure. I think she's attractive. Yeah. I already gave my opinion. I'm not going to give it on the mic, but
okay.
Yes.
Ashley's not a fan of her because of a gossip magazine that she read.
Yes, but also because her and MGK were made to be such this they were weird for sure. Their twin flames thing, but it was so reminiscent for me of Angelina Jolie and Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh yeah,
that was the original you're fucking weird relationship, because I remember when they showed up to one of the award ceremonies and they had vials of each other's blood around their neck, and it was just fucking weird.
Yeah, she addresses a lot of that stuff in the podcast and talks about how the media basically has painted her as this sex symbol, and she's like, I never asked to be that.
True.
And so then she was like, the media would just harp on her so much, and so she's like, everybody wanted to gossip about me, and then I went and hid away, and then everybody's like, well, where's Megan? And she's like, you guys killed me. You made me be this sex symbol, and then you guys killed me because I was so tired of seeing what you guys were talking about.
Valid, but also, honey, you're fucking sexy, and you are. So
absolutely. Don't
tell me that you didn't expect to be some sort of sex symbol.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah.
You're one of God's favorites.
She absolutely is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I feel like now Sydney Sweeney has kind of become the new Megan Fox.
Sydney Sweeney reminds me a lot of another actress. She was on Alpha Dog. Was it called Alpha Dog? No, it's Alpha Dogs. Hold on, I'll look her up.
Okay.
But she just looks very similar to her. Hold, please. Oh my gosh, where is she? You know who she is. She's the girl off of Mean Girls.
Oh,
do you want to see something cool? I can fit my whole entire fist in my mouth. That girl.
Yeah, Karen.
Yeah.
But I
don't know
think
her
of her real name now.
Yep, and guess what? It's not.
Okay, well, regardless.
That girl. That's who she reminds me of.
The Megan Fox interview, I thought it was really interesting. I'm not completely finished with it yet, but she's just, I don't know. She's otherworldly. How she talks is very kind of over your head, but she's also massively into astrology.
Yes.
And that also is very over my head. I don't really care about astrology. And now there's like a big movement on social media, like especially in like the Christian community, that talks about how like astrology is not like godly.
Oh my God, get out of here. Are you kidding?
Yeah, no, it's a huge movement right now. It's kind of crazy.
But I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
No.
Astrology dates far back. It dates back way farther then.
Yeah.
I mean,
I haven't looked into it enough to like have a true opinion of it, but yeah, I like half-ass watched a video where somebody was going on about it, and I was just kind of like, I don't have the brain space to take this on. So.
I mean, I guess if that's your opinion, that's your opinion, but
right.
I stand on in a totally different field than you.
Absolutely.
So we were talking about how she really believes in that whole like twin flame thing. Mm-hmm. Because that's what MGK MGK, was to her. It was her twin flame. And I made you stop because it was a perfect segue into what we're going to talk about today. Which you also you gave me another segue, which was where you mentioned that she had said that the media, killed her. So today we are going to talk about the 27 Club.
Oh, I'm stoked for this.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So it's kind of a long one, but there's a reason why it's long. And I didn't cover as many people as I wanted to in it because it got relatively long. So yeah, we'll just get started. So to most of society, actors, artists, musicians, and other celebrities hold a certain type of allure. So it's no surprise that when one of them passes, we tend to attach that same allure to their deaths. You have fans that are deeply obsessed with these celebrities that tend to turn into couch detectives, processing all the info that's passed through the tabloids, and many times that in turn also spurs the creation of conspiracy theories. Reddit forums, Instagram pages, and Facebook communities are where a lot of these people gather and spin their ideologies on some of these celebrities' lives and the happenings that build up to their deaths. Because of this, we've had the creation of clubs that tend to group these celebrities and their deaths together and basically try to make it make sense to us as to why they've passed all too soon. The most talked about club is that of the 27 Club, 27 being the age that these celebrities passed away. Now, the club has always been a thing of conversations, yet it wasn't until the passing of Kurt Cobain in 1994 that the concept of the club was really launched. With the influence of technology, a higher volume in celebrity journalism, and some comments that Kurt's mother made after his death, this made the club more sensationalized and a bigger topic of conversation than in the decades past. To this day, the list of celebrities has a current count of at least 80 that have passed at the age of 27.
Wow.
Dating all the way back to 1864 with famous composers, poets, artists, and even a king. So what I'll be talking about today is a few of the more prominent celebrities in this club, along with the backstory of their passings, and we'll also take a look at a few conspiracy theories and some I'm going to say scientific. I don't know if it's really scientific, more like astrological.
Perfect.
Which was my segue. Yeah, that's kind of fueled the cultural phenomenon around this. So the club was first spurred up in the media between 1969 and 1971 with the passing of Brian Jones of the Rolling Stones, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and Jim Morrison of the Doors. All four prominent, influential, and highly talented artists died just within 2 years of each other. With the 60s bringing in such change among society such as the women's movement, equality of races, and the power of love, it's no surprise that we were also experiencing a change in music. The 60s brought in a different feel of rock with the Rolling Stones and the Doors, and then reeling in the latter part of the 60s and the early 70s, a heavier and grittier rock with Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin. Also, Rolling Stones came in during the British invasion with the Beatles. So, yeah. Because of this, these celebrities, they were considered pretty influential in the increasing change of our culture at the time, and their deaths were not only shocking, but they saddened entire music communities. At the time, fans didn't relate the four together other than them passing too soon in life, and possibly the relation to rock and roll, which Of course, as we get further down this rabbit hole, you'll see some similarities in the lifestyles that many of these members were taking part in. So, sex, drugs, rock and roll, all of that jazz. Mm-hmm. So before we actually get started, we're going to fast forward to 1994 when the grunge scene experiences the passing of none other than the god of grunge himself, mm-hmm. Kurt Cobain. So on April 8th, 1994, the rock and roll world was turned upside down when news hit that Kurt Cobain had died of suicide. It was at this time that the 27 Club was thrust into the spotlight amongst celebrity journalists, and this phenomenon swept the world down into the 27 Club rabbit hole. After the passing of Kurt Cobain, his mother was quoted as saying, "Now he's gone and joined that stupid club. I told him not to join that stupid club." Many believed it was this comment that caused a rampage of deep dives into this so-called club. To many, the club still remains both a mystery and a myth. So, of the list of 80 celebrities, there are members that I want to take a deep dive into. There's 6 of them that we're going to talk about, their backstories, and then what led up to their demise, along with similarities amongst them. There's no other place to start than the beginning, and who is said to be the first known, even though the list dates back way further than this, member of the 27 Club was Robert Johnson. You might, if you ventured back that far, mm-hmm. which maybe not, or hopefully not. I don't know. It depends on how you look at this.
It was an interesting episode.
It was.
We were pretty proud.
Yeah, I remember being so stoked when I was like, it's posted.
Well, and then after we finished recording, we were both like, oh, shit, that was good.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. We really thought we were living the high life. So yeah, I covered him and he was our very first episode that we did. So Robert Johnson was known as the Delta Blues King, and some would later come to know him as an influencer to their music, such as Eric Clapton and Bob Dylan. Robert's life, however, came shrouded with a lot of mystery. He's the one that was said to have sold his soul at the crossroads to the devil in trade of playing the guitar like he did. Mm-hmm. You might have seen some parallels of his story in movies such as Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Mm-hmm. But it wasn't only his sudden appearance on the music scene that stirred up the whispers. It was also his sudden death, and it was mysterious. Robert Johnson was a well-known ladies' man who had also had a bit of a drinking problem. So when he passed, rumors surrounding his death were that his alcohol had actually been poisoned by a jealous wife's husband that he was having relationships with.
I mean, deserved.
For shame. I'm just kidding. So he's the first member. The second prominent member that you will see when you Google this club is Brian Jones of the Rolling Stones. So the Rolling Stones formed in 1962 and consisted of original band members Mick Jagger, Brian Jones, Keith Richards, Bill Wyman, and Charlie Watts. Brian Jones was actually the founder and the member who named the band. The Rolling Stones originally hit the music scene as a blues rock and roll band, and their earliest releases were recycled gems from the 1950s Chicago blues musicians. Hitting the music industry a couple of years behind the Beatles, the Rolling Stones came in second to the affections of the UK. However, with the years passing, the Beatles maintained the longer hair, cleaner cut image, whereas the Rolling Stones took a different route. In particular, Jagger, Richards, and Jones were often subject to intense police and press harassment for their alcohol and drug usage. As their popularity increased, the band halted covering those past blues hits and started creating their own music. So in years past, Jones had not only been considered the pretty face of the band, but was also the driving force behind their musical direction. So with the creation of their new music, Mick Jagger and Keith Richards actually teamed up together and started writing their own music and changed the direction of the band. With the increasing drug and alcohol usage taking place, Jones's musical performance at the studio became more and more unreliable. His jealousy and anger also heightened with the recent collab of Mick Jagger and Keith Richards and creating that new music. And he was jealous. Mm-hmm. So his role started to slowly diminish in the band. The final downfall that resulted in him being dismissed from the band was actually a combination of a few things. Legal troubles. So he'd been arrested a couple of times on drug charges, but all were dismissed, but they still remained on his records. Issues with band members, the ongoing substance abuse, and sudden mood swings, all of those things held Jones back from the 1969 American tour. And it was at this time that the band had formally decided to dismiss the founder and once manager of the Rolling Stones. Around midnight on the night of July 2nd, rolling into the 3rd of 1969, Jones was discovered motionless at the bottom of his swimming pool. His then girlfriend phoned the authorities, and by the time the doctors arrived, Jones was pronounced dead at the scene at the age of 27.
Can you also imagine trying to drag just
dead weight out of the water?
I think initially getting them up through the water wouldn't be as bad, but getting them out of the water,
I think the whole process would be hard as fuck. I mean, we've had this talk about dead weight
on
and then add
the
water.
Ground.
Yes. I just think it would be hard.
I need somebody to try this for me.
Please become dead weight in the water and have somebody drag you. JK, don't do that. The coroner's report stated that the cause of death was death by misadventure, or otherwise known as an accidental drowning, or death caused by risk taken voluntarily.
He was just trying to go visit the swamp at the bottom of the pool.
That's creepy AF, but maybe.
I feel like as a kid, you would think about the drain in the bottom of the pool, and you'd be like,
creepy.
There would be cool things in there.
Oh, no, I didn't think there were cool things in there. I pictured it being like a toilet, and that if somebody pulled the plug or flushed the toilet, you were a goner.
I also feel like there were rumors that if you sat on it, it would suck you down to the bottom, and like you would be stuck and you'd drown there.
I do feel like I heard that story, like something, but yes.
Doesn't that remind you of your childhood?
Yeah, but I was terrified. I wasn't like you, like, let's go see what magical land lives in that drain. I was like, get me the fuck away from that drain.
Stay away from it.
Anyways, so they also made note of his enlarged liver and heart, which were direct impacts of past drug and alcohol abuse. So we're 2 and 2. We're starting to see a slight trend. Alcohol, drug abuse.
Absolutely.
All right. So the next two that passed, they actually passed within less than a month of each other.
Oh, wow.
Jimi Hendrix is the next joining member of the 27 Club. Known for his shreds on the electric guitar, Hendrix was a self-taught musician. In fact, he was unable to read or write music notation.
Really?
I relate to this because I can read music slightly, but not the greatest. I learn by sound. That's how I learn
that
music.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's not much in Hendrix's past that would surface any emotional issues, really, but his mother did pass away when he was 16, and his parents separated when he was 9. But Hendrix was an avid drug user, specifically psychedelics like LSD.
You could not really pay me enough to mess with psychedelics.
I think I would one time, maybe. I want to see the music, or I want to see the grass sing. I think that would be cool.
That sounds terrifying
but
to me.
I'm not, my headspace is not safe up there, and so I would never do anything like that because I would be the girl that's in the corner having a meltdown thinking like a dragon is licking me or something like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't see like,
daisies and rainbows.
Nope. Like, oh my gosh, there's gumdrops. That would not be me. So
I would immediately probably have a bad trip.
Yep. That's 100% me.
Yeah.
So he also smoked marijuana and drank alcohol and often became angry and violent while under the influence. Hendrix was found dead on September 18th of 1970 in the basement of the hotel that he was staying at in London. This is sad. He died after drinking too much and taking too many sleeping pills. Long story short, he died because he had drank too much and taken too many sleeping pills, started to vomit,
and asphyxiated
on his own vomit.
He was just trying to have a really good nap, and then he got a permanent one.
Yeah, that's so sad. So just a few weeks later, the rock and roll community would experience yet another death of an influential and highly loved rock star, later deemed as the queen of rock, Janis Joplin. Janis's background was pretty normal. Her parents commented that she required more attention than most kids, and she was excessively bullied throughout her high school years for being a bit overweight and because of her choice of hobbies and the group of friends that she chose to hang out with. Her hobbies being she loved jazz and blues music.
Mm-hmm.
The group of friends that she chose to hang out with were black, and people used to call her racial slurs for that.
That's really
very, very mean. Yeah, and she also got made fun of a lot for the pots in her skin because she had really bad acne.
Yeah. I think that's one thing I never made fun of. I mean, I never really actively made fun of people, but one thing I would never judge people for is acne because you can't control it.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I feel like just because of my son, like you can, but you can't.
Right. Yeah.
It just, yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's part of growing up for some kids. It's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So because of the constant ostracization that Janis endured, she often sought comfort with drugs and alcohol. Her first forms of abuse were, this girl wasted no time, methamphetamine.
She went hard.
Oh, yeah.
Fast.
And her drink of choice was Southern Comfort.
Yeah.
Throughout her career, she would progress to the use of heroin coupled with alcohol. Reading through her relationship stories, Janis had some pretty tumultuous relationships. She was known for dating men and women, and so she was in many on-again, off-again relationships, some of which were fairly unhealthy. There were some that she had where she was dating drug dealers,
yeah.
You know? So the night prior to Janis's death, she had paid a visit to her drug dealer for some heroin, expressing her disappointment over her fiance and one of her ex-girlfriends. When I say girlfriend, I legit mean her ex-girlfriend, bailing out on a get-together that they had planned, a.k.a. they had planned a menage a trois.
Yeah, she was trying to be a throuple.
Yeah, and they kind of ditched her. Now, when I was reading, they didn't know they had ditched her. Like, this one didn't go because she thought he was going, and he didn't go because he thought she was going. So it was really an accident, but they just kind of left her. On the Sunday evening, October 4th, 1970, Janis Joplin was found dead on the floor of her room at the Landmark Motor Hotel. An autopsy later revealed that Janis had overdosed on heroin compounded with alcohol.
Not good.
Yeah, sad. So both her and Jimi Hendrix, 27, just within a matter of weeks apart. So sad.
Yeah, that is.
The next major death would be the one that would launch the 27 Club back into the media and be the main source of the conspiracies that would follow thereafter. Kurt Cobain was a founding member of the grunge rock band Nirvana, and really one of the founders of the grunge era. As a young child, Kurt developed an interest in music and was a very talented artist. He was described as happy, a sensitive child, and one that really cared about those around him. At the age of 9, Kurt's parents divorced, and his mother noted that his personality really took a turn for the worst. He became defiant and very withdrawn. His father ended up remarrying and fathering another son, which created internal turmoil for Kurt. Years later, he would state that this new family, which Cobain insisted was not his real one, was in stark contrast to the attention Cobain was used to receiving as an only boy. And so he became pretty resentful of his stepmom because of that, which I can see that. I can understand that.
I could absolutely see that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It sucks to watch. I mean, I don't have that, but I could imagine it would suck to watch your dad act totally different with another son than what he did you. So,
yep.
His mother also found a new partner after the divorce. However, this man was abusive. And,
oh, no.
Yeah, and Kurt, he witnessed a lot of the domestic violence. One incident which left his mother hospitalized with a broken arm. But she never filed charges, and she remained committed to the relationship.
Yeah.
So that's also not something that's good during his childhood.
Yeah, he has lots of trauma.
Mm-hmm. Cobain's teenager years were nothing short of tumultuous. He had, his rebellious behavior resulted in his mom actually granting full custody to his father.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So one thing that I read, which it's kind of funny, but it's not funny. Mm-hmm. But while he was living with his dad really pushed him to do things like do baseball, do wrestling, do all of these things.
Right.
But he wouldn't actually put in the effort. So he would be at a wrestling match and he would just allow himself to be pinned on the ground. If he went to a baseball game and he was going up to bat, he would purposely strike out just in spite of his dad.
Absolutely. I
just
could
to
see that.
piss him off.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny, but it's also not funny. So yeah. So his father also became overwhelmed and was unable to control him. So he just started placing him in care with family and friends.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. I don't want to deal with him, so you can.
So he's literally just being passed around.
Yeah.
Which makes you feel like an object.
Yeah. You don't
like
feel
nobody
wanted.
wants you. Yeah. Going through high school, Kurt befriended a gay student at school and became the direct target of bullying. So Cobain wasn't gay, but he later claimed that he liked being associated with the gay community because if people thought he was gay, they left him alone.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we're already seeing him like disassociate himself from people. He had a few close friends, but for the most part, he's a loner. Young adult life had him living as a couch surfer due to his choice of dropping out of high school literally 2 weeks prior to graduation. His mom gave him an ultimatum. She said, you either get a job or you get out.
Oh my gosh.
And he chose to get out. Yeah. He lived homeless under a bridge for a while, and he's basically just bouncing around. So we're seeing that, again, he's just very disconnected.
Yeah.
Now, Nirvana went mainstream around 1991 with their lead single, Smells Like Teen Spirit. Why did I say teen? Teen.
I feel like any kid that is into rock at any point has an obsession with that song.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that was one of the first rock songs that I was like, oh, yeah, so emo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, this new sound soon became known as grunge, and it's popular because all of the other rock bands in that, well, Seattle, they stemmed out of Seattle.
Yeah.
They started following in suit. So as a result, Nirvana was considered the flagship band of Generation X. So just like you were saying,
yeah,
a lot of teenager, or, even in your 20s, you felt like you connected with it.
Absolutely.
But the media quickly thrust Cobain into the seat as the generation's spokesman. And he didn't like that.
Right.
He ended up resenting this because remember, he's a very disconnected person.
Yeah, he just wants to be his own person and be left alone.
Yep. You can also say his tendencies would make one think that he's suffering with depression as well. So if we go back to his personality traits in high school, he doesn't like being pressured to win or having expectations put on his shoulders. He chose the music industry because he's good at it. And he has an artist's soul because he also drew all the time. So, I think that's a major difference between artists then versus artists now. Mm-hmm. They did it because they loved it. Where now it's like you have people trying to be famous and be an artist because of the fame.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. Now, we've talked about his personality. Disconnected, depressed, things like that. And I think that Kurt Cobain, with him, we kind of had a perfect storm brewing even before Nirvana hit it big. Kurt's family history showed suicide, mental illnesses, and alcohol addiction. And given his defiance as a child and a teenager, it's really no surprise that at an early age, he started dabbling in drugs and alcohol. At the age of 13, he was using cannabis regularly, and then he started opening the door to harder drugs. He had a period of consuming notable amounts of LSD, and he was also prone to alcoholism and solvent abuse.
Oh my gosh.
He was a huffer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heroin entered his life in 1986, and he initially only started using it intermittently. But by the end of 90, so you've got 4 years there, by the end of 1990, Cobain had developed an addiction.
Right.
In 1992, Cobain experienced his first near-death overdose after injecting heroin, and then a second time in 1993. It's worth noting that Cobain met his wife, Courtney Love, during some of the most heroin-packed years of his life. Love herself also struggled with drug addiction, so the two of them really bonded over drug use.
Yeah, I think that they were just a perfect pair that were just destined to take down each other.
Because also, one of the band members of Courtney Love's band, Hole, also died at the age of 27 due to a heroin overdose.
Not good.
Yeah. Cobain and Love met in 91, They were wed in February of 92, and then Love gave birth to their daughter Frances in August of 92. So you got a lot happening for Cobain in a very short amount of time, coupled with drug and substance abuse, depression, overdoses. It's just a lot brewing. Also, did you know that their daughter married Tony Hawk's son?
I did not know that.
And she's beautiful.
Yeah, she is beautiful. I have seen her.
Beautiful. So Cobain's first attempt at suicide took place on March 3rd, 1994, when he was diagnosed with bronchitis and severe laryngitis. Love had woken that morning to find Cobain had overdosed on a combination of champagne and, I don't know how to pronounce this drug, but it's like used for like a anesthetic of some sort. It starts with an R. Rofinol, something like that. But anyways, combine the two.
Terrible.
Yeah. He was rushed to the hospital and remained unconscious for the rest of the day. 5 days later, he was released and sent back home to Seattle. So that all happened I feel like it was in Paris. And then after he was discharged from that hospital, they sent him home to Seattle. Cobain threatened suicide again on March 18th, literally just days later, when Love phoned the police stating that Cobain was suicidal and had locked himself in a room with a gun. Police showed up, took the guns. He had a bottle of pills, but Cobain insisted that he wasn't suicidal, but he had locked himself in the room to hide from Love. Which is kind of funny, but
also, yeah.
No, sir. Love arranged an intervention between Cobain's drug use, and just a few days later, words today are hard. She arranged an intervention a few days later where his initial reaction was just like, he's mad. It's just like everybody else's.
Absolutely.
But by the end of this intervention and at the end of the day, he did agree to attend a detox program where he entered into a facility in LA on March 30th. The following night, so he's there maybe 24 hours.
Yeah, not enough time to do anything.
Nope. He checked out, flew back to Seattle without letting anybody know. Just did it.
He was like, see ya, I'm gone.
On April 7th, rumors started swirling about the band breaking up because the band actually pulled out of the 94 Lollapalooza festival.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So then you've got the next day, April 8th. Cobain's body was discovered at his home by an electrician who had arrived to install a security system.
Oh, no.
Cobain had left a suicide note addressed to his childhood imaginary friend, Boda, that stated Cobain had not felt the excitement of listening to as well as creating music, along with really writing for too many years now.
I think that is probably very valid, and I do wonder how many artists struggle with that, where you make music and people fall in love with your music, but then you feel like, okay, I've already done everything that I want to do. I know one rapper, Logic, he did that. He blew up, got big, and then he finally was like, I'm retiring, instead of just continually putting stuff out to keep making money.
Yes. So, yes. Let me finish this sentence and then I'm going to come back.
Okay.
So the coroner's report estimated that Cobain had died on April 5th. So he had been there for 3 days.
Oh my gosh.
Leaving him in the home, a few days before he'd been found. He had shot himself with a shotgun at the age of 27. So going back to what you're saying, it all goes back to, I think it goes back to a couple of things we talked about. First off, the media.
Yeah.
Society, us as society, which I cover this towards the very end. But also artists, true artists, want to be artists because they love it.
Yeah.
It makes, there is something about an artist's soul that you just want to be different. You have a talent and you want to share it with the world. The downfall is, and I will use Bring Me the Horizon as a example. They kind of started screamo, and then they kind of transitioned into, I don't really know what that, like, spirit and sempiternal is. To me, it's still like emo.
I think it's like considered maybe new metal.
Okay. So then after that, they had that one album drop that was very different. It was kind of more like electronic based. It
Yeah.
had like an EDM feel.
Yep.
And people fucking bashed them.
Oh,
hard.
absolutely. Yeah.
If you don't like the album, you don't like the album. It's not my favorite album.
Yeah.
But I still like them as a band.
Yeah.
It sucks because we become expectant.
Well,
I expect you to continue to produce content that I am used to and I love. And it takes away from their ability to really just kind of be an artist.
Yeah, I know Tyler Childers, whenever I first really started enjoying his music, his older sound versus his newer sound, he's just grown as an artist, and I just do not love his new music. I still love him as an artist and respect that, and I respect that you have to grow and go somewhere else, but I do not love it, and so I will just continue to listen to the old stuff. I hate that I am that way.
I think everybody is.
But yeah.
I think everybody is. But the sad thing is like the more, in Kurt Cobain's instance, you know, they were deemed as like, you know, not the founders, but like the band that really transitioned us from, you know, like hair metal into grunge.
Yeah.
And that puts a lot of expectations on their shoulders. And you're right. Like, you produce these like massive albums and then it just becomes like a grind, you know, and it's because of us.
Yeah. We put all of that in expectation.
We do. And it sucks.
Yep.
Yeah. So this brings us to the last one that I'm going to cover, which is the most recent member to be listed in the 27 Club, which is Amy Winehouse.
Oh, I have a lot of opinions about Amy Winehouse.
Cool.
I guess like opinions about how she was treated.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of cover it in here. But probably not to the degree that I should have. So Amy was an English singer-songwriter that at the time, when she came out, she had a definite different feel to her music.
Oh my God.
Sure.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She hit it big in 2006 with her hits, You Know I'm No Good.
Yeah.
You Know I'm No Good, and Rehab.
Yeah.
And she kind of reintroduced the jazz girl group vibes from the 1950s to 1960s, which again, it made her different. But that's why I liked her.
Yes,
because she's different. So good. Yes. So Amy had grown up in a house that was really well versed in music talent, and once she made her mark on the music industry, her battles with substance abuse became the subject of much media attention.
Yeah.
She had gone through a period of heavy drinking, drug abuse, and weight loss. Her family believed at the time that the death of her grandmother, whom she'd been really close to, was actually kind of what set her into addiction. In 2007, Winehouse canceled several shows, citing exhaustion and ill health. She was hospitalized at that time for what was reported to be an overdose of heroin, ecstasy, cocaine, ketamine, and alcohol.
She was just trying to fit.
Homegirl went hard. She went hard. In multiple interviews, she admitted to self-harm, depression, and eating disorders. In the following years, physicians would conclude that she more than likely may have suffered with borderline personality disorder, having extreme reactions to trauma like abandonment, impulsive or reckless behaviors like substance abuse, binge eating, recurrent suicidal thoughts, self-harm, chronic feelings of boredom, amongst a longer list of traits. Like, we're talking a long list of traits. Prior to her death, she was seeing a psychiatrist who actually recommended that she receive treatment for BPD, but she declined. Between the years of 2008 and 2010, Winehouse would be admitted to rehab facilities where she would be noted as, quote unquote, doing well, but would quickly relapse back to substance abuse and self-harm. According to her physician, Winehouse had actually stopped using drugs in 2008, but it just made the alcohol emerge as the problem. So she was just getting her fix off of something else.
Right.
Winehouse also had several assault offenses over the years, all of which occurred while under the influence of either drugs or alcohol. This has been recent enough that I think most of us can remember how this unfolded in the media. I can't count the number of magazines, news articles, coverage on shows where her image was talked about. Bad.
The media definitely tore her up.
Yeah, they picked her image apart even from the beginning, I think, and which it gave her a complex.
Well, and just even around that time, like the 2006 into even like 2011 or whatever, the media very heavily fixated on women's appearances, and
they still do.
They were all about.
I think we still do.
Yeah, but I don't think it's nearly as bad or as obvious.
I still think it is. I think we push self-love and body, love your body for what it is.
Yeah.
But there is still an underlying problem.
Absolutely.
I think it's just, we're just creating a facade around it. I think that's what it is. Yeah. That's how I feel it is.
No, I agree.
But you're right, because during that time, it was definitely, you had girls wearing those fucking hip huggers, and most of us,
aren't built like that.
Fuck no.
Yeah.
Unless you are suffering from some sort of eating disorder. But yeah, they just picked her apart, even because, she looked different. She had beehive hair. She had the thick eyeliner, that bright red lipstick. So they just literally tore her apart. Yeah. And then it was like she started, as she got skinny and skinnier and skinnier, then we just got even worse. It's like you can never win. Yeah. Never win.
I think that goes back to the Megan Fox, where she was like, I did everything that you guys wanted from me, but
it's still not good enough.
Still not good enough. Yeah.
Nope. So 3 days before her death, Amy had arrived at her residence, where her bodyguard observed her drinking moderately over the next few days to maintain a constant level of intoxication. July 23rd, he observed her laying on her bed and tried to wake her, but he wasn't able to. He didn't really think too much of it, because it wasn't uncommon for her to sleep late, especially after she'd had a late night out. So checking again after 3 p.m., he observed her laying in the same position. And after further checking, noticed she wasn't breathing and she didn't have a pulse.
Oh, no.
Ambulances arrived at 3:54 p.m. and pronounced Amy dead at the scene, passing at the age of 27. The coroner's inquest declared her death as a misadventure. They stated that her blood alcohol content was more than 5 times the legal limit.
Wow, that's terrible.
It is. It noted her death as an unintended consequence of so much drink that caused her sudden and unexpected death.
Yeah.
In 2013, Winehouse's brother had a second report processed, which it did in fact confirm that her death was it was an accidental alcohol overdose, but he believes that it was her bulimia disorder. It left her weak and susceptible. But in his heart, he really thinks that the bulimia was the sole cause of her death, stating that she would have died eventually because of the way she was going.
Yeah, she just lived such an unhealthy lifestyle and had so many bad vices that... Mm-hmm. But I also sometimes think that the media is a further...
We are a problem.
Yes.
We are a problem.
Yeah. Yep. We want so much out of celebrities, but...
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We fail to realize that they're actually normal humans.
They are people.
I don't think that I would ever wish to be famous.
It's funny you say that, because that's in one of my last paragraphs. But so let's talk about conspiracies real quick. In some way, shape, or form, a lot of them mention murder. Brian Jones was thought to have likely been killed by his builder, who had done some construction work on his property. And rumor was that Jones owed him money. The killing was thought to have been covered up by the senior police officers due to the fact that the investigation had been so botched by the local police. This, in fact, is so prominent that Jones's children still believe that their father was murdered.
Wow.
And in 2009, the case was reexamined, and there was no new evidence to suggest that his death was anything but death by misadventure. Kurt Cobain's death has been the most controversial, partly due to an unsolved murder episode that was aired that uncovered a PI that had initially been hired by Courtney Love to locate him when he went missing. But what he found was that Cobain's credit card had been used days after his death, and that that credit card was never found. His theory also, after he started looking at everything, he thought that the way he died, that somebody else had to be in that room with him. Mm-hmm. So there's been rumors for years that Courtney Love was the second person in the room. He thought that there was Cobain and then somebody else doing heroin with him, and he,
Yep.
But nothing has ever come out of that. It's all alleged. Again, just a conspiracy.
I don't think we'll ever actually really.
No, nothing ever. Nothing was ever proven on it. So now to the astrological stuff. Mm-hmm. Have you heard about Saturn return?
No.
So it's a little creepy. Saturn return is an astrological transit that occurs when the planet Saturn returns to the same ecliptical longitude that it occupied at the same exact time as the person's birth. Usually this happens when you turn 27, but it can happen anywhere between the ages of 27 to 31. So this time it's seen as a transition period from youth to adulthood, and it often comes with challenges and responsibilities. We actually have 4 times in our lives that we have this happen. You have your first one between the ages of 27 and 31. The second one occurs between the ages of 56 and 60. The third between 84 and 90. And if you're lucky enough, you get a fourth one again between the ages of 114 and 118. So this is the time that you're entering from one stage of life to another. So if we think about this, most women, for instance, they experience a midlife crisis around the ages of 56 to 60. Men do too. If we go back and we actually pull the celebrities that passed between the ages of 27 to 31, it's an even longer list.
Yeah,
You've got
absolutely.
Brittany Murphy, Heath Ledger, Shannon Hoon, Hank Williams Sr., Ronnie Van Zant, Lisa Left Eye Lopez, Jonathan Brandis. Like, there's a massive fucking list. It's insane. And I had also read that at one time that people link it to the emotional and brain development that occurs at that age. So a few, if you go back and you look, some of these people on that list between 27 and 31, did they die of just drug and alcohol? No, they had other, Ronnie Van Zant was in a plane crash, but still, like, it's just insane. So I think it's safe to say that with a lot of them that we've looked at today, some of them grew up in some really bad environments.
Absolutely.
That caused emotional trauma.
Yeah.
All of them had drug and alcohol abuse. So,
well, and I think a lot of them weren't, they didn't, I feel like, especially even, in the early 90s, there were no real great mental health resources.
I mean, mental health was not talked about, period.
No. And there's another rapper that my brother listens to a lot, Juice WRLD. He died of an overdose, but even listening to his songs, he talks heavily about wanting to die and his drug usage and everything. Mm-hmm. So, like, it's all there in his music, but he never, I don't know if he ever actually got the help that he needed. I mean, he ended up passing away, so he didn't actually. But
yeah. So is it the pressure of successes, or is it the pressures of being successful? Is it the entertainment industry? Is it the media? Like, yeah. All of these things, are people just struggling with their own internal demons?
Yeah.
I mean,
and being famous just doesn't fix that.
Yeah, you're right. But like you said earlier, I would never wish to be famous. I remember being a teenager and thinking, like, I want to be famous.
Oh my God.
I want to be famous.
Yeah, all that popularity.
But, Britney Spears was huge then. And I was like, I want to be a Britney Spears. Looking back on it now, no fucking way, man.
Absolutely not.
No way. Even when you start looking at, like, child celebrities, Shia LaBeouf is a prime example. He, child celebrity, and then he went through a period in his life where he was like front page of every magazine because he was fucking his life up. And I remember watching an interview with him where he was just like, it was like after he had finally figured his shit out, and he was saying, was having a conversation with somebody and they were like, what do you like? And he was like, I didn't know how to answer that question because I'm a child celebrity. I know if you tell me stand in front of that camera and love that ice cream, I can absolutely love that ice cream. But when you ask me what do I like, I don't know.
Yeah, because I've never been given that opportunity.
Yes, he's never been given the opportunity to figure himself out, which is very sad.
Yeah, I know that I have something on my phone to talk about after this that's not related to this, but I want to mention it. But, there's that new Nickelodeon documentary that just came out about, like, Dan Schneider being a creep to all of these Nickelodeon stars. And it's connected to, the downfall of, like, Drake Bell from Drake and Josh. I don't know if you ever watched them. But, like, even Josh Peck went through a wild party scene, and now he's completely sober. Jojo Siwa, the little bow girl, she's getting ready to come out with a new, like, I mean, I think it's going to be a corny song, but it's this song about, her growing up and not being the bow girl anymore. She's now for adults. Mm-hmm. She's not just for kids.
Oh, yeah, because again, it's kind of the same thing as the music. You know, you don't want to be branded as that forever.
Correct.
But it is
You
kind
have
of
to
hard
grow
to
from it.
Yeah, but sometimes you can't. You're not
Yeah.
allowed to break out of that shell and be something different.
Yep.
Because that's what everybody knows you as, and so that's what you're expected to be. And it sucks.
Yep.
It does suck. And I think we kind of put them on a pedestal too. Like you were saying, like we forget they are humans. But to us, they're so like, you know, like, oh
idolize
gosh.
them.
Yeah, but they are people, you know, so.
Nope, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, so that's, you know, the one that I didn't talk about was Jim Morrison. He was a really big, he was really big in the 60s and 70s. He also passed at 27, but I didn't talk about his story. But it's just kind of crazy, especially when you start looking into that astrological piece, because I think back to my years between 27 and 31, and I mean, I had a lot of shit happen.
Right.
And it was kind of traumatic.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people struggle between those ages. So
I feel
it's
like those
not
are
uncommon.
formative years. Like
They are.
You're breaking out of the early 20s party, like, figuring my life out, and now you're like, oh shit, I'm a real adult.
Yeah, it's like when you start transitioning into a teenager. It's like, it's just a very hard transition. You know what I mean? You wouldn't think it, but it 100% is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all I got on it.
That was such a good episode.
Yeah.
Okay, now I have real hot gossip. So we know that, well, it's not gossip because it's actually fact now. All right, so the Kate Middleton speculation.
Oh my God, did you just get a notification on your phone? Okay.
So the Royals just announced that Kate Middleton has cancer and she's getting chemo. And so she had surgery on her stomach.
No.
Yeah. And that is why she has been missing and out of the news.
Dang it.
I
That's
know.
sad.
Yeah. Yep. Because I think before.
So thoughts and good vibes.
Thoughts and prayers. It is kind of crazy, though, that she has cancer, but also doesn't the king have cancer right now?
He does. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And she's young. Like, I mean, she's young. I think.
No, she's very young. And I feel like she's relatively
healthy.
I mean, she appears healthy. We don't actually know what's going on behind the scenes.
That's very true. But that's another one that the media has kind of like torn apart from time to time.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, we have all of these speculations.
And the media will make shit up, man.
I mean I do love running with the headlines, though.
They just love to give some sort of salacious bullshit out there just to, you know.
Right, absolutely.
It's their job.
I guess
it's sad.
I'm kind of sad that it wasn't her bad bangs.
I was going to send her an Amazon link for some clip-ins.
Some clip-in extensions. Mm-hmm. That was such a good
Girl,
episode.
I got you.
I'm so glad that you covered it.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's just really sad, and it's always been kind of intriguing to me.
It's very intriguing, yeah.
Yeah. So we haven't had one in a while. Well, Juice WRLD was how old?
Honestly, I have no idea. I knew I think he was in his 20s. Hold on.
There's a lot in their 20s, especially.
He died at 21, so he did not make it. Young. But yeah, no, he blew up very fast, and even though he's dead, he has this whole backlog of music, and so they're still releasing music for him.
So think about that concept too. Like, it's like you're being worked to the bone.
Yeah, and my little brother, I was actually talking to him about Juice WRLD the other day. He said that Juice WRLD, I think it's either his baby mama or his ex-girlfriend, or I guess girlfriend, but now clearly they're not together because he's dead. She has an OnlyFans where she sells a lot of his personal belongings on to make music or to make money. Isn't that's sad. Awful? Yeah, I
think that's sad.
It's just, I mean, death really does bring out the worst in people, and so does money.
That is no joke.
Yeah.
No joke. Dang. All right. That's all I got for you today. Is that all you got for me?
That's all I got.
You got the next episode.
Oh, yeah. I'm so stoked because I think what my next 2 or 3 episodes are going to be about.
I love the look on your face right now because I really struggle. I'm like, what do I want to cover now?
So
mull it around.
I feel like I'll have like spurts where I'm like, that's exactly what I want to talk about. And then I'll have another like week or 2 where I'm like, oh, shoot, what should I talk about?
Yeah.
And then I kind of just settle on something. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I'm pretty excited about my next 2. And they're not murder related.
Right on.
So.
Right on.
Yeah. Because I don't want to feel like, I don't want to be known as like a true crime podcast.
It is true crime. I mean, we're tagged as true crime, but yeah, it's like a plethora.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a mixed bag.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Just cram your hand down in there and see what you get when you pull it out.
That wraps up today's episode. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, and Patreon. Oh, shoot. I didn't hand her my phone fast enough.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave a 5-star review, give us a thumbs up on YouTube, and hit that notification bell so you can get an alert every time a new episode drops. Tap that app. Tap the app.
You say the, and I say that.
Tap that app. I like that.
We need
better.
okay.
I like tap
we
that
need to.
app.
All right. So next week
Tapping
we
that
will
app.
be that.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll see you next week. But in the meantime,
stay strange, my friends.